Hello and welcome. I'm so grateful you all took a few moments to spend some time with me and my beautiful guest, Jewell. Welcome, Juju. How are you?
I am doing absolutely fabulous. And you, my love?
I'm so good. I'm so happy. I'm grateful. I love holding space with you. We've been goofing around before this recording already. And so we're just lit. We're happy. This is a new episode. It's kind of a mashup episode of Token to Talk. Juju and I both enjoy cannabis. It's a supportive tool of both of ours for many things, which we'll talk about. And it's something that's helped loop us and connect us together, which is really nice too. Mama Canna has a beautiful binding effect with certain things as well. So I'm grateful for that. And so we're going to be talking about all kinds of really awesome magical things. And I want to give Jewell a minute to introduce herself. She's a numerologist, among many, many other magical things. She is super in tune. Her guides are lit, and I'm grateful she's here. So, Jewell, will you tell us a little about yourself?
Hello, everyone. So, my name is Jewell. I am a professional numerologist and the owner of Juju with Juju Black Girl Magic. And with my small business, it is an umbrella of multiple different modalities and tools that I am bringing forth to this world, from numerology to tarot, oracle, and also even to handcrafted jewelry that I create with authentic beads and material that come all the way from the motherland, Ghana to be specific. And I am on this journey of genuinely not only evolving myself, but evolving others to these tools that are readily accessible to them, and putting people on to wisdom that may not be, in your everyday like schools and anything like that. And on this mission of genuinely seeking community with also other people within our community and people within my own family, but on this mission of evolving in all areas of my life, not only just representing myself, but also the world as well. And that's a little
Aw.
bit of
Well,
me.
thank you for incarnating and being here and showing up in this world right now and bringing your magic and blessing us in this lifetime. It's just, something we all need and something we all connect with. And your heart energy is big, sister, big. So I know that the world is grateful to have you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I want to talk about all kinds of things and ask you about all kinds of things. But maybe first, we are recording this today on November 1st, and you're a numerologist. So maybe you could give us a little intro to numerology and tell us about today.
Yeah, so let us getting into talking about some numerology briefly. So, numerology is the spiritual and practical science of numbers, where everything can be reduced to the numbers 1 through 9, and they have vibrations behind them that can be understood. In addition, numerology is able to be used as a tool to look into your birthday and also your name to see strengths, weaknesses, karmic lessons. And having that awareness, you can genuinely bring forth anything to manifestation and be able to make precise and calculated decisions for your journey in life. And
That's super dope. I've actually never had a numerology reading, so I'm gonna have to do that with you after this.
yes, oh, you by all means, we can sit there and have a numerology session. I would absolutely love to do a numerology session. If I was on my iPad, we could have did like a mock one where I can draw and share my screen. But
Next
we'll
time, we're gonna have follow
next
up. We'll
time
just set
we have
that intention.
plenty, yes, plenty of online space and time that I would love to do like a online reading if you're open to that. For our lovely viewers who are down to see how a
Absolutely.
numerology reading is actually done by me, especially it is a tool that not many people, like people are aware of numerology, know that is it is a spiritual tool that can be used in your toolbox, but it's not as common as like tarot and oracle. So with me being a numerologist, I am on a genuine mission of trying to make this as mainstream as these other modalities. And when you go into the space, you're like, oh, I would like a numerology reading, as opposed to like, what is that? And expressing that genuine like, oh my gosh, what is that? I've never, experienced that. So with that, I also am on a journey of making it inviting.
Mhm.
Like you coming into a reading with me and I share the space with you and you're like, oh snap, like I'm genuinely curious. I'm genuinely excited to learn about numbers, learn about myself, learn about my karmic energies from my name. as opposed to this being so foreign. Like numbers genuinely rule every single aspect of our lives. Numbers was Earth's eldest form of communication. So I am trying to have the language of numbers come out as eloquently as something like that you can understand on everyday lay terms.
I'm grateful for that for many reasons. Number
Oh,
one, when I'm holding space with clients and things and I get to see different gifts or visions they have, many people can actually see numbers and coding coming in a language. And that's not something I understand. And I have an aversion in this lifetime to numbers because I moved a lot as a kid. And as I was learning math and division and times tables and things like that, I was different in different fucking countries and states and all over. And like I was like learning, double digit addition and then moving to a new school and they were on long division and I missed my times
yes.
tables and like my numbers got like fucked up around the time I was like 9 years old, which is a big thing, which I probably think you probably know a lot about more than I
Oh,
do.
yes.
Right?
Yes,
So there's a
yes,
lot of things
yes.
that come into this, but it's something I get to see for clients. I get to hear them discuss and know that they see so much secret coding and that things really do come down to so many numbers. So I'm so grateful to have you be able to explain that. And now I have a resource to send some people to about this.
Absolutely. I would be honored to answer any numerical questions, anything like that. I know a common question that's usually asked is about angel numbers. Angel numbers are a huge, huge, huge hit. When people come to my booth and are like, oh my God, I see 1111, RC 222, or 444. And at its bare minimum, like seeing any sort of angel numbers is usually just letting you know that you are in alignment. And then with that number in particular being emphasized in like a triple digit, it's like telling you something that needs to be in direct focus. So, for example, if we have some 444 energy, four can also mean two different things. It can mean chaos, it can mean being unconventional, it can be progressive, but it's also the number for order and structure and discipline. So, if you're seeing that number, there probably is a significant amount of discipline that needs to be had so there can be expansion, especially with all those triple fours reducing and adding them totals out to the number three. Three is a number for expansion. So it's just like getting that order and that structure and that stability will, curate growth and expansion in that, realm.
I love
But
that. That makes sense, like, the way they commu when I
yeah,
see my 1111s, 222s, for me, and I joke around a lot with my clients and stuff, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's just saying exactly what you said, you're in alignment, and it's like, you're that a girl, or way to go." It's like, I chug a bunch of water, and I'm like, "Yeah." I took some deep breaths, I chugged some water, I look up, it's 333. I'm like, "Ah," and angels are like, "Hell yeah, you go, girl,
yes,
drink your water, take your breath, do it again." And I'm like, "Yep, okay." And
yes,
so for me, it's just that little hug, that gentle nudge. And then it's so nice to learn more of what you're saying about the polarities of each number and the opportunities we have to choose when we jump into that.
yes, 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 yes. So even just to jump back a little bit with the schools of numerology that I also do work with, I am a certified Chaldean numerologist, but I self taught Pythagorean numerology, and they are two different schools of thought. Pythagorean numerology is your most modern, common Western form of numerology. This was formed by Pythagoras, and basically the concept behind Pythagorean numerology is that it has its number correspondence matching the alphabet. And it's understood that life moves to order progression through manifestation with the numbers journey 1 through 9. So, with that being said, it's if you think about the tarot deck from the fool's journey from 0 to 21, number one is the beginning, the light, the spark. Two, duality, mom, dad. Three, growth, expansion, movement. Four is home, structure, order. Five's freedom, change, curiosity, stimulating your five senses. Six is domesticity, acts of service. Seven is rest. Eight is raw power, authority, karma, reaping the benefits of hard work that has, manifested on this journey. And then nine is completion, ending and renewing. So we now start on and understanding that the cycles go 1 through 9 and then they repeat again. And more than likely, when you do go on these journeys from the 1 through 9, you will more than likely meet sort of similar like situations or challenges. But as you synchronize yourself to the numbers and the vibrations they emit, you are able to, in those situations, if you are repeating a similar situation, you're able to go from freeze to action faster. You're
Mm,
like,
yep.
okay, I've went in this, season before. This is how I moved in this time. And now I can sit there and move in this way. And I know how to handle when this chaos erupts. I can stand calm in the storm. So it's understanding with that. And Chaldea numerology is the eldest form of numerology that goes all the way back to ancient Babylonia. And
What was
they,
it called again? Try what?
Chaldean numerology.
Oh,
Yes, and it's what, Chaldean, Chaldean.
I'll have
Even
to
though,
remember that when I hashtag this episode.
yes, even though I've heard it two different ways, it could be pronounced Chaldean or Chaldean. Um, I interchange them because I wholeheartedly, I'll be honest, have not I from the Chaldean.
Tomato, tomato, back to
Right, exactly.
Babylonian
Like
times. What you gonna
especially
do?
especially there's not much Chaldean numerologists that it's like it's kind of hard to sit there and to genuinely get the right concept. But this is the eldest form of numerology, and they have more of an emphasis on your name vibrations and the karma that your name emits.
I'm definitely very interested in that because I'm super into names and what they mean and how we end up getting them. And you and I jammed a tiny bit about that. Juju and I got
Yes,
to shout out to the stage lady. We got to work at witchcraft together, which was so fun. And we were just like hustling and doing readings and having
doing
a
the damn
blast,
thing.
doing the damn thing. But we were like hinting and talking about some of this stuff. So I
Oh
just love that
yes.
we're jamming on it now.
Yes. So this one, this has a heavy emphasis and focus on your name and how your name is helping you like get to your fullest potential, the karmic experiences that may be hindering your growth. And, definitely tying your birthday, what's unchangeable, but it's more so the name. And that is where, as a Chaldean numerologist, I am certified in helping people do legal name changes.
Cool.
So very, very, very cool, way deep energy work that I, was blessed to learn how to do. And it's very interesting because my awakening happened actually in 2020.
Oh,
Uh,
let's go there because that's one of
yeah,
my next questions is, hey, so how did you become what you're doing now? What's your story
yeah.
here? So please
Um,
continue.
yes. So this happened back in 2020, and this is right when the George Floyd protests were happening. And very chaotic year. And even if we're discussing numbers, 2020 reduced to the number four.
Mm.
Four is ruled by Aquarius. So this is chaos. This is change. This is progression. So it's no coincidence at all that in 2020 the world like went through it, like
Everything.
everything, like a
I say it's the year the entire world got attacked by an invisible enemy. And like everything like was off. That's it. It was the great it really was the great reset. Like everything just changed.
Oh yeah, it was total wild card energy, which is what four energy is all about. It's very much like when we go left, four is going right. Like very much like rebelling against authority, rebelling against the patriarchy, and making that chaotic change that is going to essentially bring a shift that ultimately is to serve the higher good and to bring some progression. But as we have noticed with a lot of people in 2020, it's either like you caught on to that opportunity to rest and to explore those creative, entities that are within you, or we kind of just we didn't hop on that train because you can definitely tell the difference of the people who like, whoa, 2020 brought them something. And especially I'm sure you've heard even with a lot of people's stories, it was 2020, it was a pandemic, it was this, it was that. And I'm like, yeah, that pandemic.
You know
So
what was my COVID? Sea Goddess was our COVID project. We were like, oh, we got time to put this shit together. Let's just do it, you know? And like that Sea Goddess was birthed at that time because where we were all at, and that's just it in our own healing journeys at that time and our consciousness to be able to choose this is what we want to be doing. But it really is when you're stepping out of choosing and creating, your destiny and releasing victimhood a little bit and things like that. And we only get there when we're ready. And trust me, I spent a whole lot of time in that rodeo.
oh
And then I
yes.
got to learn and grow and heal. And I was lucky to be in the portal of awakening at that time
And even like I'm still growing. I'm still
every
growing.
day.
There's still so much that is shedding. I in 2020, of course, when I first was awakening to my gifts, I was very much on the, chaotic side. Like when you first wake up and you're just trying to be like, listen to me. Oh my God, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that, and like pushing people away. That very much did happen, but it very much sparked right when those protests happened. But it was interesting because earlier that year when the pandemic happened, I just got a new job. I was serving at the time.
I did
And
20 years of restaurant work, every position, front of the house, from fucking busser all the way up to manager, and mostly bartending in between. So I feel you. I got you, and I was a server.
the server life, it is quite something.
And I did that right after 2020. I helped open up a restaurant in Atlantic City for 6 months. And I swore I was going to retire from it. And then I was like, well, whatever, fuck it. After COVID, like, let me hop in. Maybe I'll make some extra money this summer, whatever. So I did a recent twirl myself just like a little while ago on it.
It's I will say, even within this, it pays to be multifaceted. Even with like
Yeah.
it's a weapon to be multifaceted and to be, even as you had mentioned, trained in all different levels within your own position. I'd rather not be that person who's like, well, I've never been a dishwasher, so I can. Well, if you were cross trained in multiple different areas, if it came to an emergency, you have the upper hand to seize the opportunity to help. You
I'm a
know,
huge fan of teaching cross training whenever I'm in charge of clientele, companies, employees. I was a social worker, I ran restaurants, like so many different things. And I'm a huge, huge fan of cross training because it releases so much pressure for so many people and allows you to have a better work quality. One of the best restaurants I worked at in Boulder, Colorado, I was learning all my cool spiritual shit and I was out there for school. It didn't end up happening, became a social worker. Full time though, I worked at the same place for like 5 years and it was beautiful because we were all cross trained as servers, bartenders, and managers. And literally, it was like all these amazing people who I connected with intellectually who were like wanting to like pursue their dreams and were either in school or traveling. And you could go to, Asia for 3 weeks and come back. And you could go and do things and still have your job when most other structures didn't allow that space for people because they weren't cross trained. Well, nobody's here to do your job. So you can't have, a couple
you
weeks.
can't have exactly. That's why I'm just like, I would rather be the person that learns everything. And that is also where the umbrella term for my business comes, because I'm within that year, I discovered that I can do this and this and this and that. Like I was like, oh wow, like and there's
Magic.
still so many different things that are still unfolding as we speak, still portals that are opening, doors that are opening that I haven't even unlocked yet. That it's like, even when that was all growing and my mom was like, why don't you say Juju numerology services? And I'm like, it's not just numerology services. I have so many different things that I offer, and there's so many branches of me that are still on its way coming out of the roots, that I don't want to just say it's just Juju numerology readings, because it's just not that. I
It
am
is just juju a little bit. It's you.
It's me
It is
though.
you. It's juju magic.
And I am like, even I'm trying to learn Reiki. My mediumship gifts, they are slowly evolving, and even like more so, I'm meeting more mediums. Like I'm like, oh, okay, this is what happens when I'm sitting there saying yes to my gifts. I'm meeting more mediums. I'm meeting more people who know how to help me nurture these specific gifts. And it has been absolutely beautiful. And even just like the shift of direction that I went within that year, like I was serving, and within that year, I also was applying for grad school. I was literally getting my master's. Like, it's crazy the shift in the directions that you go in this journey. And all of a sudden, it was on March 15th. Like, in the restaurant industry, you saw, like, you went from a full house, and then that weekend of March 13th through the 15th, you saw like basically just the servers. I've never seen a wipeout like that of people not show up to the restaurants. I was like, oh, this is bad. Like, this is very bad.
Yeah.
And then I was laid
I went
off.
from working every holiday to nobody's showing up right now. What the fuck?
I was laid off, like literally the next
Oh.
day. And
Oh.
I said it out loud. And I don't know what I was saying at that time, because this wasn't even me. I didn't even wake up at this point yet. But I was just like, I will never work for the man again. I was just like, okay, if spirit wants me out of there's clearly why I'm booted off the island for this reason. Even though the world is shutting down for everybody, there is a reason why this, like, I felt it. I was just like, I'm not doing this again. Like, not to sit there and say that I am not good to like work at retail or in an office or anything like that. But it was just like, I no longer want to work for someone else's dream and work on somebody else's time. And like, I don't want to do it. And it's crazy because I was born on the fourth. So I do have that rebellious against the patriarchy and authority and the status quo and being super unconventional and that black sheep and shit like that. And yeah, I felt it then. I was like, I am not doing this shit no more. I will not work and clock in under somebody else's time ever again. I will not do that. And later on that year, I was applying for grad school and I was getting my master's in human sexuality.
Oh, cool.
Yes, I was a sexologist. And,
Cool. We're gonna have another episode about that then,
oh
because I've
yes, we
been looking for
are.
someone because I love these conversations. I even had a whole podcast called Womb Magic at one point, and like it's so important, and I'm ready to revive some of those conversations. So, yep, follow up episode. Check that on your
Oh
list for this one
yes.
too, guys.
Oh yes, we have so much to talk about. But I was a whole sexologist and
Not a
the
half, a whole.
a whole like, and mind you,
I'm
I
just
had
making numbers jokes.
right. And it's funny, like I had only did one semester, but I have all the intention of going back. It just I have other work to do right now. But I
It's
left.
okay.
And I there were times where I genuinely beat myself up about it because even like I was supposed to get my master's in 2022. But I ended up getting my certificate and becoming a professional numerologist. So we went a different direction. Um, but when that happened, my school and everything, they only had classes on the weekend. So of course, with the world opening again, all of that, I was like, well, no place in this world, regardless of me going to school, showing transcripts, showing my curriculum, they are not going to give a shit that I'm in school and they need me weekend availabilities. So I was already thinking into the future. I'm like, all right, so I have to find a way to become genuinely self sufficient because if I'm in grad school and I have classes Friday through Sunday, there's no place that's going to hire me. I already know this. So then all of a sudden, like later on that year, I woke up to my gifts right in the middle of like the start of me going into grad school. And the world is literally like on fire, protests, the pandemic, like complete chaos all around. And let me mention, I was traveling during the pandemic, but I was
Oh
traveling
shit.
because I was finding pieces of myself. Like there were pieces of myself that were in specific, like it was very interesting.
Love
But
that.
um,
And it's so divine.
one of the places that I was guided to go. All right, so getting into my awakening, forgive me that. So it happened on June 6th, 2020, under a full moon. And I
Always
lit
a full moon. I'm
it,
telling you.
and I had went to my friend's house because he was protesting. But this is when the news was not, as we see right now, showing like what is really happening on the scenes, just cutting out things. And I was not sleeping at this time. I was not eating at this time. I had went to the Philly protest and had a very like overwhelming traumatic experience with like literally having a police officer beating the shit out of a white man in front of me because he was using his body as a barrier to like protect me. It was
Jesus.
such a chaotic time. And my
Oof.
were also going out protesting but not calling me back. And I'm like, I'm just seeing on Twitter right now that there's like white supremacists on the street attacking protesters and tear gassing. I'm just like, and this is not on the news and you're not calling me. So I was just like, what is going on? And I went to his house to check on it. I was like, all right, I can't. I'm just going to go and show up and just see how you're doing. And he was fine. But fast forward, my soul sister on this journey, she came to go pick up. And I was sitting
We
there.
love our soul sisters.
We love it. And I'm sitting to myself and she's just like looking at me. And there's my Capricorn rising energy. I just be sitting there, observe like resting bitch face vibes, or just reserved.
Which is
And
so funny because I've never gotten that from you, but I've always felt like I never got a chance. Like I always like wanted to talk to you, but then you had a reading or you're busy or you weren't there or whatever, like at Anchor or wherever we were like little things or like Hippie Fest, and like you went by, but I was like talking to a customer and I was like, shit. And like then I looked, and I was like, I just never got really the chance to jam with you. And I always, maybe too, I also got to witness you doing readings and you're like from behind and doing your magic and things like that. So, but I think I honor all those aspects of herself, and I love that you honor it and you say that that's how you show up at first.
Yeah, like I'm realizing it now. I'm like, ooh, sometimes I can come off like really kind of reserved, just like keeping to myself, reading the energy a little bit. Like I like it's weird. I do kind of like people approaching me because sometimes I will like be hesitant of breaking that barrier because I'm just like, ooh. But basically she was like she was like or I turned to her or she I think she complimented me, I forgot, but I was just like I don't know where I was just like, do you do readings, do you do tarot? She was like, I do. And I don't know what came out of me to tell her like to ask like, do you do readings? But
Like
she
you were in
looked at
tune.
me, right, like completely like caught off guard, like, yes girl. So then she had like was reading my aura. She's like, I see orange all around you. And I was like, orange is genuinely, that's my favorite color. And she was telling me a bit about herself. And I told her, I was like, I've like been told many times that like my grandmother's, my lineage is voodoo lineage. And she was like, yeah, I picked up that from you. So we're just talking, we're vibing, and all of a sudden, like another friend of mine came into my friend's basement and they were like, yeah, bro, they're Murph's having a party. Do you all want to like go get up? And I was like, oh shit. I'm like, okay, I guess we're going to this party. So the vibes go over to this party. And I'm hanging to myself. I'm hanging with my new friend and talking with her. But there comes to a point where I'm like, I'm sitting down and all of a sudden, like meeting the people and then I was surrounded. I was surrounded by like five witches, and my godfather, Leo, he was like, girl, you do not know how powerful you are. And I'm just like caught off guard and they're all looking at me and I'm like, what is happening right now? They were like, honey, you are exactly where you need to be. And in that moment it was like that, like in Harry Potter when Hagrid is like, you're a wizard, Harry. And I'm like, I'm a what? Like it was so just a lot of emotions that like came up,
Oh,
but I felt completely safe and did not know like at its entirety that people can see me. And my godfather, the first book that he told me to read was The Alchemist. That is my go-to book to put anybody on into the spiritual journey. That is what the door they're opening into, go-to book to start, The Alchemist. And especially like with now knowing my gifts at its entirety, like anybody could have sniffed me out and could have led me the wrong direction. But I'm happy that my guides kept continuing to lead me exactly where I needed to be, even in that moment. And the following, like I had a whole breakdown, crying, just like, oh my God, I knew I wasn't crazy, da, 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 da. And went to see my grandmother the following day and we like literally prayed together and she like literally was like speaking to God. She's like, if these gifts are meant to serve her, protect her, you know, help her evolve in them. But if they do not serve her, remove them. Like if this is evil, if this is going to cause harm, remove them.
how
And
beautiful and sacred to have pray with
right,
a grandmother like that on these things.
right. And like just telling my grandma, like I have the gift. Like I don't know what this is. Like I have gifts coming to me. And that was her response. It was not like, ooh,
Oh yeah,
her
I literally take care of my nana. I live in her house, and she still calls me a witch like every other day. So I'm
right. Like it was
like, wow, it's so nice and secret.
right. Like I'm like, it
I hold
was
space for her big time. I
oh,
see her.
okay. Like
I'm here for a reason.
just the unconditional love that came from my grandmother. And like, so then following this, I was going to Vegas, like literally 2 days after this whole awakening with a friend who randomly decided to invite me to Vegas. It was random. So I was
Do we
like, oh,
believe in random anymore? Are you
oh,
ready? Are you into synchronicity now?
okay. Nothing was a coincidence. And mind you, it's ironic. I had not talked to him in a very long time. I hope he's well. but I don't talk to him no more. I don't even know what happened. He definitely disappeared. But anyways,
All is well, right? I
right.
trust that too. I literally, my first project got eclipsed out on my birthday on a full moon, just taken away, locked out everything. Like, whoa. Sometimes things just abruptly leave, and then we are on the end of this eclipse energy. So I do want to give that a shout out. Like, sometimes things are just eclipsed out, and it's hard, and we don't always get closure, but it is an opportunity to trust, and it is an opportunity to know we're protected and being redirected, and all these beautiful things. So, thank you for hinting and bringing that up because that's something I wanted to share with our viewers.
Yes, and even and we'll get back to the story, but even that was one of my cards I pulled yesterday, a time for healing, and that's what the energy I was going on. Like there may not have been the closure that I was seeking in these situations, but this forgiveness and this self-forgiveness for myself would release me from the mental prison that keeps me, feeling stuck, keeping me in that fear, keeping me in that anger mentality. So I'm free. I'm wholehearted, like all is well. But
That's what's up. And y'all, if you're not
and
there yet, have the opportunity to get there with many things in your lives.
oh yes. So had a reading with my soul sister before I went to Vegas, and there was a few cards that had stuck out. Like one of them was a parrot card, and she was like, "Pay attention to parrots while you're out there." Um, and I forgot the other card that happened, but most it was the parrots. The person that I went with, his friend, he was like, I work with parents. That was his profession. He worked with parents. And then not only that, he was like, yeah, I'm a whole clairvoyant. And he was like, I get my gifts from my mother. And just saying this openly. And in my head, I'm just like, wow, I guess when you start to open this door, people will literally just tell you like their gifts and very much well aware of who they are. And I'm like, holy shit, like this door is opening. Like, and it was coming very fast, as you can imagine. So I'm in Vegas and I'm just gonna fast forward to the juicy part, but it was like the second to last night that I was out there. I was walking the strip by myself. And mind you, this is during the pandemic. And we went during the weekend where Vegas was reopening. But as you can imagine, Vegas is there's a lot of people there. There's a lot of energies there. There's a lot going on in Vegas. And can you imagine during the pandemic, Vegas was empty. This was a totally different world. Like whoever was there was just like the townies, like no tourists really. It was eerie being in Vegas at this time. And I'm just gonna say in advance, like I will not go back to Vegas. Like I don't need to go back to Vegas. I took what I need, can stay there. Um, but I was walking on the strip by myself for a few hours. And even the person I was with, I was like, come find me. And they could not find me on the strip, even though I'm sending them my location, all this could not find me. So I finally am now heading back to the hotel room. And I'm like literally on, and I'll even show you this afterwards, like off camera, off scenes type stuff. But um I'm taking pictures like on the strip or whatever. And you can literally see the guy that approached me. He's like eerily in the background of my photo, like in a distance, where he was following me to
Ah,
approach me. I took a picture of it as he's like walking behind me, like several feet behind me. So he comes up to me and basically randomly decides to ask. He was just like, "Do you know anything about the number system?" And he said, "Do you know anything about gematria?" And I'm like, "The number system?" And he's like, "Yeah." And all of a sudden just starts getting into talking about, he was just like, literally powerful people work with numerology. They work with numbers. They work with gematria. He was like, all this stuff with George Floyd, not that is stuff within numbers and all that. And he was like, you really need to, you need to study numerology. And it
whoa.
turned into
That's
this.
fun. That took a better twist than I thought. I was like, oh God,
Oh,
where's
it
he
was
going with
a
this?
trippy, very trippy twist. And mind you, a few nights prior, because I also take psychedelics. And this is when I like prior to my awakening, I would trip acid, but it was more on the euphoric vibe. It literally felt like ecstasy and like tickling vibes. But when I woke up and I tripped, it was like, whoa, like I have learned like my whole life genuinely flashed before my eyes. And this is when tripping was like more intentional, like I'm learning. And we ended up tripping that night. So he was literally telling me all of the things like with numbers and how like the oligarchs use numerology, they use the planets, they use these things to sit there and to make calculated decisions, trends, stocks, all of this. And I'm just, as you can imagine, I'm still waking up to this. I'm like, I just found out I'm a witch. What the hell is going on right now? Like this was
Welcome,
right,
welcome,
like complete
welcome.
sensory
Yep,
overload. And
that's a
I'm
lot.
crying, I'm frustrated. And he was just like, your frustration's not with me. Your frustration is with, ignorance is bliss. You're now seeing like what you see is not what you see. And he's like, all these casino banners have all the Freemason symbols, all this stuff. They're all within the symbology. They run the casinos, and I'm just like, but he was like, you need to learn numerology. You need to learn numerology and you need to do something completely big with it. You need to understand how these numbers work. He was like, you are very much like within a collective of people that understand like this wisdom. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? But even more eerie about this is I was staying at the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas. And mind you, there's a lot of lights in Vegas. So he was like, when we started tripping, he's like, let me take you off the strip. So he takes me off the strip, and we are on Flamingo Boulevard in Caval Street. And this is right behind my hotel. We walk up to the intersection in the street sign. He was like, oh, yeah, by the way, this is the intersection where Tupac was shot and killed. And I'm tripping. And as you can imagine, my eyes just burst. I'm just like,
Huh.
and I have pictures of all this. I'm like, what is happening? Like, I was like, I'm in a portal right now. Like now I'm like, this is heavy. Like I'm in hell right now. Like I'm waking up to
I have
these,
chills.
I'm listening to all this, but I'm like, oh, I'm in hell right now. I was like, Vegas, there's an energy here. And there literally was like a man who started following us at some point within this. And he's just like telling me, he was like, yeah, there's people who are watching you. There's people who know, like, just like the eerie stuff, eerie stuff. But he was like, you need to study numerology and you need to have an awareness.
Well, and you're a goddess, they can see your light
Yes. So,
before you were awakened or knew about it. I trust. I've got my stories. Yeah, they'll see it. But then once you know, then you know how to shield and protect. It's the whole thing. So if anybody else is getting chills or resonating, talk to us. Reach out. This is what we hold
right.
space
Like,
around.
please, I have no issue with telling people this story. I've told people this story. I have the pictures on my phone. Like eerie shit. Like I will never go back to Vegas. That place is a portal. People go to Vegas to die. There's a lot of negative energies out there. Like you can feel it. I kid you not, after that experience and I parted ways with this man, he literally even said, he was like, I'll see you in the year 2050. Like he even told me, he was like, I am a soulmate of yours from a past life. He was like, we were very powerful together. Like I am trying to get you to wake up to your gifts again. And I'm just like, this is absolutely wild. But he was like, you need to do something massive with your gifts. Study the numbers. The numbers are ruling absolutely everything with these systems, with these symbols, all of that. And, you know, I kid you not, after we parted ways, I booked the fastest one way ticket back to Jersey. I was like, I need to get the fuck up out of here. I was like, I
I
gotta get.
haven't spent much time there, only in the airport. I got stuck in the airport once during a layover that was supposed to be quick for the craziest thunderstorm I've ever seen. I watched, they recorded it. There was like 81 strikes of lightning at that time. And that's what I watched in Vegas. But I do have a couple good friends who live there and who have lived there who do enjoy the community of it and the outskirts of it. And there are like dope killers, other things. Obviously, there's got to be people there holding down that energy.
Oh
And it's
yeah.
similar, like we're in like the Atlantic City region. I grew up as like a casino kid, and it's like it's interesting out there. So like, but I'm the same way. I don't really desire to go.
It's not. It's not. And even in regards to
But
like
I
late,
also am like, yeah, I'm over casinos because I grew up in it. But I'm like,
right?
and I'm not super deserty. I'm like, if, I would go to if I had to go. If I happened to go, I'd enjoy every moment, like I do with everything. But it wouldn't be my number one choice. That's for sure.
Right. And speaking of like layovers, ironically enough, and as we know, there's nothing that's a coincidence, but when we were going to Vegas, the airport that was our layover was the Denver airport. And whoa, Erie airport. Oh my God. They mock you. There's literally posters in that damn airport that says
The,
underground tunnels or construction. I'm like, these motherfuckers.
the
And
art is insane. And that's where I lived. And for 5 years, I guys lived out in Boulder, and I also lived in Denver, Aurora, and Parker. And it was cool because could like bartend and learn some of the stories of the people who built that place, and like how it was all secure and crazy and weird, and like so it's wild energy. And then just being redirected too. Like I literally was out there to go to grad school for wilderness therapy. And I was supposed to be out there, get my master's in wilderness therapy at Naropa, got in, everything, moved out there, and I broke my leg and I couldn't go. And I ended up doing just like working at the restaurant and going and being a social worker. And then it was weird because my mom ended up coming and going to the same school and getting her undergrad there. So it was kind of cool because I got to like kind of learn and vicariously be like through her with a lot of the stuff. But then I
Yes.
also got redirected into weird things and got to learn about a lot of crazy ass shit there. And I was literally like a social worker in downtown Denver in like some crazy ass situations and like got to see the real of the sex trafficking rings and the things that are going on there and the people who are held hostage by others and different things and the low of the lows and the highs. And it's just a very interesting place.
Oh, yeah.
But I did very much enjoy snowboarding out there. So I will give that some props. And I made some of my very best friends there and listen to the best music and the best food. And there's so many amazing positives out there, and there are a great, amusing vibe of people and collective and healers and cool things. But there's some creepiness up at that airport, and that's it because the reason that it was one of the biggest, this is when I was a social worker, one of the biggest sex trafficking hubs and portals is because it is an international airport in the middle of our country, and there's two major highways that go north to south from Canada to Mexico as well. So you can hop into the middle of the country, which is a little less secure, I guess, supposedly sometimes, than the coastal
Mm.
ones, as far as like importing people and things and trafficking and stuff like that. Then you can drop it on the highways, and it can go north up to Canada, south down to Mexico, or east to west to LA or New York or wherever, Miami. And like it's a big portal for shipping all kinds of things, hence all the tunnels and stuff.
I've never even knew that to that extent. Like, that's absolutely insane. And even like I felt it. I felt it when I was there. I was like, this, it felt like time was taking very long in that space as well. I was like, this is a very like, why are we still in this airport? But the murals, everything. I was like,
And there's like when you drive up to it, there's all these stories about it, but there's this blue Bronco with these like red eyes they call Lucifer, and it has other nicknames and stuff too. And supposedly the guy who built this big Bronco statue, it like fell over on him and killed him, and then they like still like have it there or something. Like I have no idea, that's all like lore and rumors, but you see it when you're driving up. It's this big blue Bronco with these beady red eyes, and it's like
eerie. So
interesting.
eerie. But
Yeah.
yeah, so coming home post that experience, it was clearly a wild week. I'm just discovering from other healers and witches that I am one, that I have these gifts, and I'm now approached from someone else in a whole other state, halfway across the country, basically. And they're telling me, like, I'm also a powerful person and I need to study this modality in particular. So as you can imagine, I came home and I don't want to sit there and be those people that like, because there was a whole war that happened that year with the essential workers and non-essential workers. But I guess I was a
Uh,
essential worker and I was home, traveling, getting paid, being home. But I was learning, and I was in Barnes and Noble all the time in
oh, cool.
2020. Like I there's the self transformation, section there. The first thing
Yeah,
I
throw me some of your favorites. We're always
yes,
throwing up books and resources. So, what were some of your favorite ones you dropped into?
so first one, The Alchemist, favorite book. Like one of my, and I don't want to sit there and give a spoiler alert, but I just want to give like a quick insert of just how important it is to make sure that you were walking into safe hands and aren't naive when you're walking into the fool's journey. And especially in this journey, but like a scene from that book that is completely memorable for me was when the shepherd, he finally went over to I forgot where he went to get to the pyramids. He went to Africa, if I'm not mistaken, or went to, you know, and he went to this bar, fresh, he has all his money, he has everything on his back, whatever. He went to this bar, and this man that he met, he was like, I can help you if you basically like give me all of your money, essentially. And he felt at home with him because he was able to speak the same language as him. But the bartender in the background was literally like snapping and like yelling at him and telling him like, do not talk to him, do not talk to him. But of course, because he was not speaking the same language as him, he felt like, you look kind of cuckoo bananas trying to talk to me. But fast forward, the man took him to basically a grand old flea market and was walking with him, and the shepherd like got distracted for a moment looking at an item, was just like, oh my gosh, like this is so beautiful, turned around, the dude took all his stuff, all his money gone, just like that. In the beginning of the journey, everything gone. And that's when he had realized, he was like, wow, like the man at the bar was trying to warn me, like that man is a thief and he would sit there and take your money. He was not an enemy because he didn't speak the same language as me. So within that, I was just like, wow, I have to like not be so naive when it comes to my energies being out in the open like that. I don't know who I'm approaching in this journey. Um, so I will say sometimes like my protective shield I do keep up is genuinely because I'm like that hyper aware of being like, I don't know who
I
is
had
that.
to learn that. And I
Yeah.
ask Archangel Michael to surround me in white and blue light and protect me every day. And I encourage my clients to. And it's a hard initiation we have to learn and go through. And it is a wise, amazing lesson to share right now.
Oh yeah, like it people can sniff you out, and by all means that man even in Vegas could have sat there and spit out so much like bullshit to me. Like even like to backtrack it a little bit, there was a point where we had went into the Cosmopolitan Casino, the chandelier one. As you can
Oh,
imagine,
cool.
like tripping on acid, that shit was just like like just color shimmers everywhere. It was so sick. But there was a point where we both went to the bathroom. Came out of the bathroom, he was gone. So in that moment, I'm like, who the fuck just came up to me and just told me all of that stuff? And I am tripping and peaking and I'm by myself in this casino. Like, who just told me all that stuff? Walked around looking for him, cannot find him. All of a sudden, we find each other. And I told him I had no idea how I was gonna like feel if I just went all the way back to the other side of the country and just had this imaginary person just tell me all that. His response to me was, I thought you were a spy and I just told you all that shit and you just disappeared and went and blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, oh, this is,
Mirror of fears.
oh man. I was like, this is interesting. I'm like,
Which
because,
that is one of our witch wounds. It is the day after Halloween and persecution, and many of us have past life spy persecution wounds and things from very recent lives in many different times and eras. So I'm glad you brought some light to that because I know some people are waking up to that a little bit, and there's a reason you're sharing some of that.
oh, oh yeah, like it was,
And with I've seen it with someone else one time, but they had a fear of going on camera and they were assassinated through a camera. And I don't see that with you, with we're not in a reading, but either way, like I don't see that coming in big time. But I did see that for someone one time where they were assassinated when they were like doing an interview and there was like a gun hidden behind it.
that is insane. No, it feels wholeheartedly in this space like my guides want me to tell this story. Like this is a story I have like I've told people more so on an intimate level, but on a like this is genuinely how I got where I got. Like there's way more details, of course. But it like this, it was back to back to back to back of learning that I had these gifts and learning I need to sit there and also utilize these gifts to understanding that the people at the top are using these gifts as well. Like even that quote, which I'm sure you've heard by JP Morgan, millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do, is because
Yeah.
they are genuinely
Ursula, my business partner Ursula says it all the time, and it's true.
using these numbers, the planets, the moon cycles to make calculated
And
decisions.
even like those new shows like the Indian matchmaking shows, you learn about that. Like a lot of the dating and the matchmaking uses astrology, and a lot of the money making over there uses astrology. And like you can watch those shows right like real time right now and how they're using it and what's going on. It's a big deal.
Oh yeah. So,
And we can all use it to our advantage.
and that's where I, along with you and all of us, are on a mission of doing. Like, I, especially with numerology, I wanted to just be more mainstream for the fact that numbers literally, quite literally, surround us all day. We are looking at the time, we are looking at the date, we are looking at our to put a number in your passcode. Those are numbers. Numbers are literally, they're suffocating. Like, not even suffocating to that, but they are so in your face that it would work to your advantage to understand, what does that number 6 mean? So I can sit there and work with this number, or draw in that energy to like do something. Or what does this triple digit mean if I'm seeing it all the time? Or anything like that. Like your phone number, everything reduces to the number 1 through 9. If you sit there and even just look at that, you're like, oh snap, like this is why this is, how I'm working, how I'm manifesting, why these traits are like this. But all accessible for us. And I'm happy that I'm here and we're here to bring this more to light. But even sorry to just piggyback on the story,
You're
but
good. We can have, I always joke around with all my soul sisters, especially, but I'm like, oh, we have 8 conversations at once and it's great.
I
And we're all in
know,
tune and
like I'm
rock and
like,
roll.
this is
Let it flow,
okay.
baby.
Yes. So as I had said, I came home and I'm reading books. I found my first numerology book. I'm reading a lot about it. Just trying to understand what this is and doing card readings for myself. Well, at that time, I also was beginning grad school. Boy, oh boy, when I say the tug of war I had when it came to the focus of me studying this and studying my spiritual gifts, as opposed to me going and studying my schoolwork. Wow, like I ended up getting super depressed. Very, very, very depressed. I banged out with a 4.0 GPA. I was the president of my student organization, HSCDSF, Madam President, yeah.
Go,
So,
girl.
and even the intentions of me going to grad school, I wanted to be an advocate and I wanted to be a healer of those who have suffered in silence from sexual violence, sexual assault, anything in that regard. I am a survivor of that. So, and silence was survival for me at one point. Like if I said anything about my abuse, could have got me killed.
Thank you for sharing that with us. That's a space I hold a lot with a lot of women. As you know, you are not even close to the only one. And the more you all share your stories, I have my own story, the more we do, the more others can and we heal. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. And also within my program and even within my gifts as well, being a Black woman who is within a field that is super taboo, but like the percentage only goes lower with people who are pursuing higher education and especially demographics in particular. So education was an extreme and is still an extreme weapon and passion of mine, especially like during 2020 with, everything that was happening with the George Floyd protest pandemic. Like a lot of ignorance ended up bursting into the atmosphere of people that clearly, are very close-minded, had not taken that extra step to just read that book or watch that documentary and just have that sheer compassion of doing so. That when I then got into my grad school program, also experienced like institutionalized racism within it, and even still being like, Jesus Christ, it's like this is exhausting. And
It really is real. It's exhausting. I've witnessed it.
oh
It's
man.
fucked up, all of it.
So like I did my best within my role within my program of like, even like there was a point where a classmate of mine, one of our questions was like, how do you utilize your power within a like majority patriarchy society? And I was like, education is my weapon. Like the fact that I'm an African American
Love
woman,
that.
and I'm at my graduate school level, which is very hard to sit there and to even get past that point, and incredibly even more harder going up the ladder. Like this is something genuinely worth celebrating for, especially having been put in situations where my education could have been compromised and could have been taken from me. I worked very hard to sit there and to be in that position. And a student in my class basically came out and was just like, I have friends who don't even have passed a high school diploma who are smart. And like basically just like shitted
Mm.
and everything that I said. And then that following day, it was like a train of events that happened. And then the class ended. So I couldn't like basically come back at her to like express like my anger, how that like kind of just took that power away from me. And then that later on, I went to Walmart to just go get some stuff to make for dinner. And I had saw my rapist there. And
Jeez, what a day.
it was a day. And
Thanks,
mind you,
angels.
um, I had went and I reported him to the police like X amount of years ago. Nothing happened. So in that moment, I saw him and I had to literally sit to myself and be like, I could ruin everything right now if I go up and start attacking this man, even though I have every reason to sit there and to just wreck his world. But I'm like, I have to sit there and just keep calm because if I sit there and do this, he could easily sit there and say he doesn't know me. I can sit there and go to jail. Then grad school done, record, everything ruined. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, why? What is happening right now? And the amount of strength I had to come up with in that moment and the shock factor and shook factor that I experienced. But I came back the next day and I came back gun swinging. And I was just like, listen, I like it was disappointing because I like ended up finding out with my institution that there were tenured Black professors, students who were dropping the program because the racism that they were experiencing. And I was like, this is just so disheartening because like when I went to the admissions, the open house and stuff, there was a whole student, Black girl, who was just loud and proud of amping up this graduate school program. So I was like, wow, you welcome Black voices, you welcome Black academia, academics, boy, like students. And I was like, yes, I have a school that genuinely values representation. But just to find out behind the scenes after the fact was just like, oh, wow, like this is so disappointing. And I ranted about that and ranted about like even just the tone deaf of even the students within this program to sit there and to have like we're experiencing professors quitting their job because they're experiencing this just to have within my own classroom a student sit there and basically dumb down that I'm proud of being educated. So I was like, this is a lot, but I let it be known. I was like, you will not take me from making it to the finish line, even though I ended up departing on my own terms for the sake of like my mental health. Grad school is no joke. And plus, Spirit had other plans for
I'm
me.
saying, what you got rerouted to, and you
Yes.
literally too can teach it. You just taught us and talked about the polarity of when you're doing something that's in alignment for you and soul fed, and when you're doing something that's more like you should be, and you're doing it,
Yes.
should be doing it, and it's not soul fed. It's outside matrix fed.
Because that's what it felt
I'm
like.
right
Like,
here. I'm letting my dog out because she wasn't
no
letting me
worries.
go outside.
Because even like my family, majority of them basically had masters and up, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So not necessarily like that I was trying to make sure I'm within that, but like that was definitely some inspiration. Like minimum people in my family, they have at least their masters, like all of them. So I was like, you know what, I definitely want to obtain my master's. I want to, I want my master's degree. That's a very hard degree to get. And but I was very much focused within my what I was going for. And but literally when it came to studying numerology and I was doing rituals, but like literally it was at a point where like my spirit guides, I'm doing like late night, overnight rituals, and I had class literally the next day. I'm like, there is a genuine tug of war right now of what my spirit guides want, and then this school shit. And I was like, all right, we have to, I have to make a decision. And I ended up taking that leave of absence, but I ended up not returning. And then I was trying to do numerology readings based off of my own wisdom and like the books I was reading, but ended up reaching a point where it was becoming so confusing, just seeing so many different interpretations of numbers of the words and this, just like with tarot, like you get a tarot deck and there are so many different interpretations of how people describe it, and it was driving me crazy. I'm like, I don't even know what's happening. But one of the services that I ended up wanting to do when I launched Juju with Juju, I knew I wanted to do legal name changes, and especially for those in the trans community who were transitioning, especially this journey where they are having the ability to choose their destiny, choose their new path. I wanted to be a person that can help you genuinely actualize that with your name change. But at this time, I was no certified professional numerologist sitting there saying I offer name change services, like as if like I know what the fuck that entails.
I think that's just so dope. And it really like you're such I just see you as such a pure angel of like blessing them on their new chapter and clearing their energy and helping them be more in alignment with what feels best for them. And sometimes even actually I saw like it just seemed, you know, I just saw like women who wanted to protect themselves and start a new chapter walking towards you too. And just like just really cool things with that. Like it's just very dope.
Oh yeah,
And
even
if you're not a notary, people always need notaries too, and you can get a good side hustle with that.
that as well. That's crazy that you mentioned that because I actually am getting my notary because I do legal name changes and I wanted to also add that in addition. But with what you had said previously, yes, I also do welcome clients who experience domestic violence, like stuff like that. Changing your surname, getting married, transitioning, like a legal name change can happen for so many different reasons. But it was definitely my focus because one of my friends, she was transitioning. And I was like, I would love to be that person to sit there and help you change your name. Like, this is so inspiring. Um, and I ended up sitting there, like, I was like, all right, I now have to look for a school because I'm like, I, especially the Capricorn in me, there's definitely discipline and structure that needs to be involved. And I am also the type of person that I just needed to be like taught so then I can then understand it. By all means, I have no issue with self-teaching, but like there's something about just also somebody else giving me that proper wisdom and
Oh,
guidance.
I'm the same way. And
Like,
honestly, I need to get inspired sometimes by people's energy too. Or like
yes.
when I got to meet my favorite teacher, Rebecca Campbell, one of my favorite things I learned from her that day was actually just standing next to her as an embodied woman to feel that energy, to
Mhm.
know what that meant, like that frequency. And I love learning too. So I'm into that. And every session, every time I hold space with somebody, there's a give and a take. You learn, you give, you receive. Like it's amazing.
Absolutely.
I'm a
Yes.
nerd with you on that. Get it, girl.
Okay. So I was like, all right, I need to search for some schools. So I literally went on Google and I was like, numerology school. And right front and center was the numerology school by Nova Lee Wilder, my teacher, my professional numerologist is my teacher, but she's also an author. And I wish I had the book on hand. But the full circle moment of that was the fact that my teacher, her book, all a little bit about numerology, was the first book I read when I opened that door since coming home from Vegas to learn about numerology. And did not realize in the back of the book that she had mentioned that she was going to start the school. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, the author for this book. I was like, it's her. I was like, oh my gosh. Like this was the first book I read on my journey. Like this is absolutely insane. Like I never knew I actually had everything I needed in my house if I just like was paying attention thoroughly. So I scheduled
They
my,
do that. They do that though, guys. The angels line us up. Really, that they really do, and that's
oh
so cool.
man.
I love
I was
that.
I was like, this is wild. Like when because her book pops up when you click on a page and she's like, purchase a little bit about numerology. And I'm like, that's the book. I was like, I read you. I have you. You're on my shelf. Like I'm like, this is insane. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is for real, for real. We're doing this. Oh my gosh. So I scheduled my admissions call, and this was an interesting time because I scheduled my call and she was enrolling like her this semester was active like literally it just had started in September, and I was like, okay, like I can just do it next year as in like 2022. She's like, oh no, we can get you in right now. And I'm like, ooh, spirit is working. I was like, okay, like right now it's like now or never vibes to the max. And it also was interesting because my classes were also held on weekends, so I'm like, wow, look, another thing that's how I cannot get a regular job. Like I am not doing this. Like my graduate school program had weekend courses and now my numerology school has it is not meant for me to be in that world. Hey. So, I ended up getting accepted to numerology school, and the first person I had called was my best friend Relly. And I sent him a text message and I was like, I got into numerology school. had a whole beautiful conversation about just where we are, us evolving and being so excited, embarking on this journey. And then 2 days later, on October 23rd, 2021, he was hit by a car. Um, was was in a coma for about a month, and then ended up passing away on December 13th of 2021. And during that time, like, it was so devastating. Like, to have known that was my last conversation I had with my best friend, just telling him like I'm on this new journey and about to become a professional numerologist, and having them leave in such an abrupt way. And um their family did not allow me to like see them at the hospital. So it was like I couldn't even see my friend at their last moments. But also at that time, I wholeheartedly grieved them the most before they passed, because I knew they were in that in between space.
Mm,
I knew that based off of how bad the injuries were, they were debating, they were in that position of understanding like, this is what's going to happen if I return to this body. There's going to be a long reset. People are not going to be taking care of me right. Da 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 da. Like, I saw all of it. I saw all of what was going to happen, and he also knew it as well. I was like the most devastated during that time, because I'm like, he knows how he's going to be treated. They're not going to tend to him right. They're not going to nurture him right.
mm,
And then he's also debating on, now transitioning to this plane. And I'm like over here, like, wow, I have to like accept the fact my friend's gonna make that choice to pass on. And um he did eventually, like, he was coming back to himself, but then a blood clot went into his lung, and then or his heart, and then it ended up killing him.
mm,
But when he was in the rehab center, the nurses weren't wiping him, were not cleaning him, literally shitting on himself. And I'm like, this is exactly what he knew was going to happen. And I'm like,
mm.
I knew that was going to happen as well. I was like, I knew there was not going to be the most best treatment if he was going to reset, and if the amount of damage that happened, it would have been a long time for him to come back to full term. So that is also when I like heavily also was tapping into my mediumship gifts, but didn't nurture them at its entirety. But just knowing, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can feel my friend is traveling right now. The best way I can describe that moment in time was like, if you've seen Harry Potter, in the scene where Harry and Dumbledore are in the white train station after Voldemort had attempted to kill him. And Dumbledore's like, you have to make a choice to go back. It's either, you're going to go back to your physical body, or you're transitioning here. And I was like, wow, that's the in between space. That's the best way I can describe the in between space, like, of life and death. Um, so that was, such a heavy time. And I have lost a few friends all within the past literally like 2.5, 3 years, that have completely like elevated my spiritual journey, but equally punctured me as well. Has at times on this journey made it hard to trust, hard to open up my heart, especially these intimate connections that I desperately ultimately want, as we all want. It makes me scared, because I'm like, a person I was talking to every day just died abruptly, was taken from me abruptly. Like, can I sit there and open my heart up to friends, to feeling safe with people? Like, it petrifies me. But I know, like, I am on a mission of genuinely trying to like be here. I love people. I love having connections with people. But I will say, those my loved ones that have passed on this journey with me evolving within these gifts, it has been very, very, very like heavy on the heart. But um
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, sending your heart big, big love. Thank you for sharing with us. Like,
Thank you.
grief is the hardest. It's the hardest thing we have to go through as humans. And I'm so gratefully shared, because it's also such an opportunity to trust souls and their work and their journeys and their choices. and an opportunity to get present with ourselves and with others, because we truly don't know when the last time is, or that last experience, or when we have an opportunity. And death and birth are so very sacred in so many ways, and our souls are the ones, I believe, that choose to come and choose to leave, even if it goes in weird ways. And so I'm so grateful, and it's hard. Going through grief is fucking the worst. So and you get to learn trust and discernment and what's worth it, and how you want to be present, when you want to be present, and all those things. And so thank you for bringing attention to that, because many people have gone through a lot the past few years.
Like, and one thing that definitely devastates me the most, especially, I mean, a lot of people have lost people. Um, but I work with Oya, who is the Orisha that works with chaos, catastrophic change that brings renewal, but also death. So understanding this, like, there's nothing that pisses me off more than people who are grieving people who are still a phone call away, especially with knowing how it feels to lose your best friend, to lose that person, to lose your partner, a person you talk to every day. Knowing there's people you could call right now to be like, hey, homie, like, we don't have to sit there and be BFFs again, but I just want to sit there and just show you love and let you know, like, you still have a space here. Like, it's really that simple. It seems complex, but like, there's nothing that brings genuine heartbreak to me than grieving people who could you could heal with right here, right now. Especially having such an intimate connection with just that, like, but yeah.
I think that's a beautiful thing to call attention to. And it literally is the start of the holiday season here in the Matrix. And all of the energies in November are based around gratitude, a lot of that. And there's an opportunity to make amends, to create healing, to choose a different timeline. So I think that that was a beautiful invitation to people this season, to see if they can maybe bring themselves in their consciousness to try to do that, and to be that bigger person, or have that healthy conversation, or clear that air when there's the time to, and to honor and respect, and release and accept, all of those who are choosing their transitions, or whatever's going on. So I think that it was a beautiful invitation. I'm probably going to make a little clip of this and share it. Like, yeah, do it.
Yes, but then outside of the grief, we definitely, found inspiration. Most days are still hard. Some days I feel them very, like, very intense. Um, but they have definitely given me the strength to continue to keep going. They even, helped me manifest an amazing boyfriend on this journey with me evolving within my gifts, and he also invests in my gifts. And then, well, that was this year, but in the last year, I finally became a certified professional numerologist. And still was, I'm not gonna lie, very hesitant. Like, there's a difference between me this year and last year. Like, the fact we are in front of this camera is a difference between this year and last year. And it's so, like, interesting because at one point when I first started doing, like, I was doing free readings for people, just trying to, like, open that door. I was recording myself and I only sent them to, like, a few people to, like, have their readings, but I never did it again. Never did it again. Never. And then, like, even afterwards, like, especially being so, like, was in a lot of people's faces when I was first waking up to my gifts, like, I died down my voice by a million on social platforms. Because I always felt like, oh gosh, people already thought I was like batshit crazy at one point. So, like,
Been there, done that, heard.
right, like, can I
Coming
just
out of your spiritual closet is a thing.
oh man, that it was, we came out and we came out so, like, I like, even it was at a point where I almost like, my connection with my mom got shifty. Um and that was a very interesting time. She, even to the point, like, she still remembers it, like, has brought it up even, like, recently, because I was like, my mom is my best friend. So
Okay.
as you can imagine, with me waking up to gifts and confronting past traumas and all of that, there was definitely some tension, and probably the worst like we've ever probably like ever had a fallout. Like I don't just not talk to my mom. Like that is a person like my mom, my grandma, I call them every day. I speak to them every day. Um, we are so interlocked that if we don't hear from each other, we're all interlocked. Like, did you hear from mommy today? Did you hear from grandma? Did you hear from Jewel? Like, it's like that, like that. But it was at a point where it's like, was not, I did not talk to my mom. It was very, very deep and intense. Um, but yeah, I got to that point where I was just like, I don't know what to say. I feel like I had lost my voice. Um, there's so many different downloads coming to me that I have observed through the numbers, through news outlets that's reducing the numbers and all this stuff. And I want to be on Instagram and be like, da, 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 I saw this and like it's calculating that. But I'm like, oh, I've already like we're down the loony bin. So I'm like, how can I come back out of the ashes and actually like use my voice and hold and take up space on these platforms and not feel like I'm an intruder for just speaking my authentic truth and just being myself and just talking. Because one thing I love talking. My Venus is in Gemini, so we could chat.
We're
Like
chat, we're doing it. I love
right, like
it.
I'm all for just having my mind be like, ooh, like I'm a very curious spirit by nature. So I'm like, I'm open to learning and open and expanding and sitting there, remaining even as a teacher, still a student within this life, like that
Mhm.
rejuvenation.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, so um
Ah, well, we could talk forever, and I'm
yeah.
so grateful you took the time and that you were curious and brave enough to come on and to do this. This is you were what you want to share that for just a minute. You were walking through a fear and you just banged it out. Tell them what you were afraid of that they'll have no idea.
Oh man, I was afraid of this, y'all. I was afraid of this exact moment of being in front of my camera. I wholeheartedly, when it comes to being on camera, social media and all of that, like as we've talked about, like we value those in-person connections, like that authenticity, that vibe of just being in somebody's presence, that I've always been like, damn, can't we just be outside, be outside, like have that collective consciousness? Like, do we have to be on our phone and on TikTok? And there's times I've genuinely like prayed for like social media outages wholeheartedly because I'm like, ooh, if there's a social media outage, guess what? You're going to be forced to talk to thy neighbor. You're like, hey, thy neighbor. You're going to realize, oh my gosh, neighbor, I did this. And you're like, oh my gosh, I did that. Wow, we actually relate to one another. We actually can be friends and we can actually grow and evolve. And they don't want that. So I'm like, ah. So I always sit in my thoughts. I'm like, damn, I guess I have to, you know, sit there and utilize this to my advantage as opposed to letting it intimidate me. And um also like it's especially we vend outside. We've been this whole vending season, the rain, the wind has been whooping our asses
Every Saturday.
every Saturday, like clockwork. That even I'm like sitting there equally speaking out loud to my guides. I'm like, oh shit, we actually have to transition to some online vibes because it's starting to get a little chaotic outside. Like literally, it's causing that opportunity to shift perspective and for me to figure out what other options do I have if outside is not it. How can I be outside without being outside? So I was like, all right, I have to nurture this. And then speaking to you at witchcraft and just telling you like I'm being called to be on camera, to be online, to use my voice, to do online readings, to just share about my gifts, work with other healers. But I'm this that door I just don't want to do. And here we are, like it just wholeheartedly it came
You
out.
nailed it. It was incredible. And
I'm
I'm
so
just so
great.
grateful that we got to co-create and hold some space for this because you deserve to share your beautiful light. And on that note, how can people find you and get a hold of you and follow you in the future
Yes,
and
so
work with you potentially?
you can follow me at Juju with Juju on Instagram. It is Juju with Juju Black Girl Magic on Facebook. And I also have my website, jujuwithjuju.com, which has my online shop and also has access to all my services available and pictures of all events I've done, updates that are coming to the shop. And I'm also at the Sage Lady shop Mondays and Fridays with the gang, gang, gang. If you like to see me in person as well, that is where you can follow me and find me. And I know we were briefly getting into it at the beginning, but shall we continue to tell people about the day's forecast?
Yes, please. And I'm just gonna let
Yes.
my puppy out because she's knocking over her toys right now. But
No
yeah,
worries.
please tell.
So before we go, just going to give quick daily forecast and even just a brief numerology tea of just some upcoming energies that are also happening within the following year. So with today being November 1st, we reduce that number to the number two, and then we add today's date, which is the first, and those two total out to three, and then the calendar year reduces to the number seven. So today is a universal one day. And when just understanding the universal one or the universal days, months, and years, for example, it's a universal 7 years, it just it means that these energies impact on a global energy. It's not exempt from me, not exempt from you. Everybody is impacted by this universal numerical vibration that is an influence. So that's why it is cool if you can hop up on the trends and understand so you can sit there and make calculated decisions, wise decisions, understand what's happening. But with that being said, today is a universal one day, y'all. So today is all about new beginnings, opening that door, infinite opportunities, setting the tone for things. This is Leo energy. So this is being confident. This is standing within your own authority, your own leadership, your own individuality. And very much perfect day for starting anything new. This could be a course, this could be a job. There's a lot of energy, a lot of momentum, and usually anytime there is a one day that's in the rotation, it usually sets the tone for the next 9 days up until a repeat. So with that being said, today's it is significant days for setting some genuine intentions. How would you like the next 9 days to play out? What would you like to bring to your week? What would you like to do? Especially, it's also the first of the month as well. So this not only can set the tone for not only the day, but the month as well. What are you trying to bring in? What are you trying to draw in? And how are you trying to radiate on that confidence and stand up on it? But this is also magician energy. So understanding that you genuinely are equipped with everything you need to bring forth anything to manifest anything to physical manifestation. But yeah, so that is the day's energy. I don't know if you want to hear about the year's energy, like next year and going into 2024 a little bit briefly.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, so next year we are going into an 8 year. This year is a 7 year, so very spiritual. A lot of awakenings are happening, but it's also
I
that.
feel holy this year. I
Oh,
like
yeah.
said
It
that.
is the holy year and it's impacting each and every one of us. So, this is that year to disconnect, to connect, to making sure you're drinking more water, to making sure that you are honoring your needs of rest and being still, nurturing those spiritual gifts, especially seven is the phone number to heaven. So, our spirit guides are very much.
I'm gonna remember that.
Yes. So our guides are very much potent and are readily accessible to us if we sit there and just say yes to it. Asking for that assistance, sitting there, becoming aware to it. So there should be no surprise that this year there's so many more groups that are welcoming that space of healing, nurturing spirituality. More people are attuning to their gifts because it is that year where that is happening. That shift is happening where multiple doors are opening. It's infinite possibilities. It may almost feel like hamster wheel energy because there's so much creativity, so much fluidity in water and all of that that happens in a 7 year that it could be like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna choose this, that. But even at times where it feels like you are reaching for many things, this is that year of understanding you have like unlimited potential. Nothing should feel limited to you. So that is the energy for this year. And next year, we're going into an 8 year. So even just to backtrack briefly about talking about that 2020 year with that 4 year and then getting into this year. So within many schools of numerology, numbers that are marked by fate are the numbers 4 and 8. So as you can imagine with
Oh, okay, that helps.
right. So this is some child of destiny energy. With that being said, as we had saw, there was a global shift that happened in 2020 with that 4 year. You can imagine it's something that's manifesting on the horizon within 2024 with this reducing to that number 8. And it's election year. So there's going to be a lot that is happening next
Yeah.
year with just the energies and the vibes that are going on within this country and within this world. But 8 is that number of karma. This will be a immense reality check for a lot of people next year if you have not been resting, if you have not been doing the hard work, if you have not been sitting there taking accountability, if you've not been prioritizing your finances. It's going to be a year where you will get that lesson from that great karmic teacher from Saturn. Like, it is a Saturn year. We are going to be ruled by Saturn, but even within the most positive aspects of Saturn energy and even this Capricorn energy, this is cardinal energy as well. This is completely ambitious and earth sign energy. Anytime there's an 8 within the essence, 8 seeks longevity and also does not take detours. So this is something where like your hard work and your consistency is what's going to sit there and win the prize. And slow
I was
and
gonna say, I feel like you could get rewarded for like good karma for like putting in the work, is like what I'm feeling.
yes, yes. So that's where it's just like as long as you are genuinely doing the work, you should have your reward should be benefit. But if you are sitting there not taking accountability, bullshitting a lot, it's going to be a hard hit for a lot of people next year. And I'm not even trying to sit there and be like, ooh, but it's the year of the great karmic teacher
Hey, here's your heads up. Get your
Saturn.
shit together, people.
Get your shit together, people. 8 is
You
also
have your warning. Juju has spoken.
okay. 8 is also ruled by finances as well. So
Hate
getting
and fate. I'm like, ooh,
okay,
that
like
is chilly.
yes. So like getting your money in order, getting your finances in order, getting things structured as well, like making sure there's routine, making sure that there's plan. Um, and then understanding 8 turns into that affinity sign to the right. So there's so much potential that's going to happen next year as well. And authenticity, like making sure that you are standing within your personal power and your personal light, most importantly, and trusting in that, especially like any person who is an 8 or born into an 8 year, they take on that child of destiny energy. But one of their biggest lessons is making sure they trust in themselves. As you know, like one of the cards, the 8 of Swords, is one of that energy. Like if you feeling you're only restricted if you allow yourself to be restricted. You have infinite potential. So this will be that year where people have the genuine opportunity to release any doubts and fears, to charge against authority, to reach for the stars for what they want, and to rise above waters. There's a lot of potential within this year, but within its bare minimum as well, understanding like if we are not taking accountability and not doing the work, then how can you expect any sort of results to happen? So yeah, that's just a brief little numerology tea and forecast of the day and the year.
Oh, I'm grateful for it. I'm like, oh shit. Yep. All right, cool. And it's giving me confirmation for some things that I'm planning right now. And I'm like, all right, cool. And like, yep, let's get that in track. And yep, okay.
Oh
Heard.
yeah. Oh yeah, we got a lot of hard work that will be like think of this like 8 of Wands. It could be 8 of Wands, 8 of Pentacles, like you're literally seeing your fruits of labor coming to manifest. There's a lot of focus, a lot of drive that needs to happen in this year. Like that's why if we are not sitting there doing that work, yeah, we're gonna get our asses handed to us. We're not focused and not making sure our eyes on the prize, but also just remembering like that balance energy. Yes, we can be equally focused within our passions and our dreams, but still making sure we're nurturing family and friends and making sure we're sleeping and all of that.
Sleep is the most important.
Oh man, I don't know how many times, even within the spiritual journey, the manic times, I've been up all night, like a few days at a time, just not sleeping. Wow. I don't know what that is in particular in the journey, the not
We get
sleep.
inspired. I call it like, I don't know, I channeled like a whole book outline one time. Like sometimes we get inspired and these things come through. I planned a whole retreat. We're going to be releasing a winter retreat soon. I did that a couple weeks ago with that new moon eclipse energy and stuff, I think it was, or something. I don't know.
Yes.
But like, that happens to us sometimes, for show.
Oh yes. But yeah, this was
Aw.
such a joy.
It really was. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you chose to join us on this beautiful recording today. And I'm so grateful to know you and co-create with you in the future. And I'm wishing you all the blessings and abundance. And I'm grateful for all the things I learned from you today. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. I've learned from you. I'm growing with you. Like wholeheartedly, thank you for having me in your space. Like this is a door that like I was like, oh my gosh, am I gonna jump ship on this? But like, no, we did this, and I feel like I can do this again and only evolve and only learn more and only grow. And like, I genuinely thank you so much for this. And I'm happy that even though it took even like a slow build up to getting us to where we are, like it was clearly aligned and was going to align at the time that it needed to.
Finally, on a perfect new day. And I was honestly like taking a little break for a while from my shows and stuff. And you had asked me, and several other people had asked me. And I was like, no, it is time. And it's perfect. And it's lining up perfectly, beautifully with so many things. So I'm grateful just as much because I was like, "Yep." And that's why I made the appointment. Because I was like, yep, I'm doing this.
We're doing this. This
So,
is like some genuine, the time is now energy. And that's even what
and
the,
I couldn't have planned this. I was just like, oh, how about Wednesday at, 11 o'clock on a one day at 11.
yes. So
So
even that's why I was like, I can't jump ship on this because literally it's a
I
one,
didn't know.
like there's so much potential and doors that are opening on this day that if I even like numerically botch this, I'm like, no, today is the day. There's action, there's sun energy, it's asking things to grow, motion. I'm like, today's the day. Today's the day. I am doing this. I'm confident. I'll talk to myself out loud for a little bit just to like get myself out of my fears. And we did it. And this was such a genuine joy. Literally, like my heart is so full.
Mine too. Right back at you. And thank you all for giving Juju a follow, for giving Sea Goddess Healing Arts a follow, for reaching out to us, following us, seeing what magic we're co-creating out there in the universe. Come hold space with us. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.